Okay, let's talk about the difference between local service ads and typical Google pay-per-click, right? So here I'm looking up plumber near me, which is close to where I am, and the first two results that are going to pop up are going to be the local service ads or the Google guarantee. It's the same thing, people just refer to it as different names. So these two at the top here are from Google local service ads. If you don't know, Google LSA or local service ads are a pay-per-lead platform through Google. So yes, these are technically Google ads, but it's a different kind of Google ad, which is actually managed, hosted, or whatever on a separate platform than what you're typically used to when you're running PPC ads. So it would be still ads.google.com, but it's through a different portal called local service ads. So these are those local service ads. They now appear at the very top on Google, and these are pay per lead. So if I were to click this or click this, the customer would be charged per lead. There is no like click, right? So if I click this, it's just showing me like the profile, right? This is not the Google business profile. Don't get that confused. This is their local service profile or their Google guarantee profile, which is synced to a lot of their other Google connections. But like since I just clicked this ad here, they're not getting charged. They're not getting charged per click. They're only getting charged per lead. So if I were to actually click get phone number or message the customer or call the client, or sorry, the business, then they would be charged. Now, how much are they charged per lead? I don't know. I really can't answer that. It is going to truly vary based on the industry and the location. There are some pretty like fixed numbers overall. Like I can tell you for this plumber, depending on the service I inquire about and where they are. So like in Arizona over here, it's probably going to be between like 40 to 60 bucks. It's definitely cheaper than most people pay per lead on Google PPC because you're probably not fully optimized. And that's why a lot of people should be using this, at least initially or together with PPC. For a lot of our clients, we like to run them side by side. So if we have a plumber, we'll run them on Google pay-per-click and Google LSA. Some weeks our pay-per-click does better, some weeks our LSA does better. Sometimes it doesn't matter, right? As long as we're running both. But Google pay-per-click is excellent for anyone who's eligible to use it. Like if you're eligible to be on local service ads, highly recommend it. It's a no-brainer. It's pay-per-lead. Now, it is not available to every single type of industry. As you can see here on the left side, it's only available to a certain it's limited. It's limited to a certain type of jobs and industries. I'm scrolling through a lot of them right now. It's not every business in the world is going to be, relevant, but primarily every single main local service or lead gen company you can think of is going to definitely have a place on local service ads, right? So if you're a local service or a lead gen company, good chances are that, you probably can run local service ads, and it's not that hard to find out. Like I did, where I searched plumber near me, just type in your service on Google, right? Do you come up on local service ads? And they look just like this. Now, of course, they do look a little different on mobile, but the main thing to keep in mind is that it appears at the very top. Okay, so let's go down one. So these two here now, these are search ads or text ads. These are from Google pay-per-click. So if I were to actually click on this, they'd be getting charged because of my click, and that would be considered pay-per-click marketing. So that's the typical bread and butter type of Google ads that 90% of people are running, right? So Google Guarantee or Google LSA appears at the very top now for most industries. And then we have our Google pay-per-click. And then in this case, we have our Google Map Pack. Sometimes these are sponsored. Doesn't look like any of these three are sponsored, but if they were, it'd be the very first one. And then we get to organic. So Google Ads is completely dominating the field. I mean, you have your Google Guarantee at the top, then your Google pay-per-click, and then sometimes your Google sponsored business profiles, then the rest of the map pack, then organic. Now let's take a look at the inside or the back end of an LSA profile. So this is one of our plumbing clients. They spend a good decent amount on local service ads as well as pay-per-click. We run them through both. This is what it looks like as an admin or an owner on the business profile. This is where I actually set up and customize their profile, their settings, and all of this, right? So obviously there's a bunch of default stuff that you go through and set up when you first create the account, such as like your business name, your website, your phone number, where you're based, what you do, that kind of stuff. And then you get these little dynamic things like business bios, which are not fully customizable. So if you see, if I click on this, it actually has me select from a filtered selection. So I'm just doing check boxes based on what Google's allowing me to choose. So if we don't offer this, I could change that to this or so whatever, right? So you can choose your business info, which just kind of appear as like little call outs on the bottom of like your business section on the profile. A couple other things. Choose your budget and bidding. So for the budget, it's a weekly budget, which is kind of looked at as like a max. So just because we have an average weekly budget of $5,000 a week, we are not spending $5,000 a week necessarily. That's like our way of telling Google, hey, we refuse to spend more than this each week. Obviously, it's a good practice to set your weekly budget pretty high because it's well known for local service ads that they don't always like fully push ads as much. That's the downside of it. It's kind of, what's the word? It's inconsistent, right? So we usually try and put a really high weekly budget to kind of tell Google like, hey, we really want this, right? So please push our ads. And then of course you can see how many leads they've had the last 7 days. So they've had 25 leads in the last 7 days. Our weekly budget is this. Again, doesn't mean we've actually spent that much. And then our bidding strategy is always going to be automated bidding. They do have a couple other options you can choose from, but for local service ads, it's really best just to kind of keep it like, automated bidding. Then you can choose your job types on the right. These are what you're eligible to appear for. So there are not keywords in local service ads as there are in Google pay-per-click. Instead of choosing keywords, we're choosing job types within our industry. So they're a plumber. So these are the eligible job types we can get leads for. And then, probably on the back end, Google obviously has like pre-filtered keywords that is associated with every job type. But you can't specifically choose keywords. You're just choosing a job type. So if you want to install faucets, you select install faucets and you just deselect everything you don't want to do, right? Pretty straightforward. They do everything. We always try to keep other unselected because we don't know what that means. And usually that's when like junk comes in. So you gotta be careful with that. Photos, self-explanatory, photos of like job sites, projects, your team, your logo, all that good stuff. What kind of leads do you want to receive? This client doesn't really want text message leads or email or message leads, so disable that. We want calls only. Service area, right? Where do you service? Where do you want leads from? This should be relative similar to what your Google business profile is because they are matched and they are paired. So they service most of New York, right? Business hours. These are actually advertising hours. So what ads do you want your advertising or you want to get leads between? We're doing 24/7. They're a 24/7 plumbing company. Makes sense. And then that's pretty much it on this page. Now there is another page where you actually set up the verification, which is how you get approved. That's where you upload like your insurance, your billing, any licenses or certificates that are required. Sometimes even team members, like if you're a lawyer, you're required to upload like your lawyers, your lawyer ID, your headshots and photos, stuff like that. We can actually see all the leads generated, kind of like a little mini CRM or lead portal, right? So we can see like in the last week or last 7 days, how many leads did we get, who are the lead, what job type are they, where are they based, charge status, because remember, this is pay per lead. But if you do get a lead that's irrelevant, spam, telemarketer, or something like that, Google will sometimes detect that and they'll refund you, or you can request a refund, assuming it's irrelevant, right? So you can see all that. So it looks like they had, I don't know where it says, but they had a lot of leads. We can actually go ahead and take a look at that. So if we want to see how much they spent and how many leads they had last week, we can go ahead and take a quick look at that under the report section. It's going to give us like a weekly overview. So let's go ahead and change that to last week. So June 22nd to the 28th, today's the 29th, they had 34 charged leads and they spent $1,400. We go ahead and do some quick math, 5 by 34, that puts us at $41 per lead. Pretty good. And keep in mind that's just charged leads. So there are other leads they did get that they were not charged for. Maybe they were spam, telemarketers, or just some kind of like bogus like that, right? And then a couple other metrics. Some of these metrics you may be familiar with from Google Ads, pay-per-click. So this is pretty awesome to see. This page is probably not super important to you guys, but this is what's super important here, right? You want to know how much you're spending actually and how many leads you're getting. So for example, you saw this account is trying to spend $5,000 per week. We spent $1,400 last week. You see why we accelerate it? Because Google local service ads is just like, they're slow to push you, so we try to push them. So that's kind of our way of accelerating it forward. Now you can see why this is super good and super important for most businesses, right? I mean, if you're running pay per click, there's a good chance you're not going to get 34 leads off of $1,400 ad spend. At least if you're new to advertising and you're doing this yourself and you're not running a well-optimized campaign and landing page, you're probably going to get a lot less leads from that. So local service ads is incredibly powerful, and I highly recommend you set it up. Whether you're only running local service ads or you're running side by side, you absolutely do need to set that up. It is incredibly valuable.